Hey, what is going on, everybody out there? This is Jakejames Lugo, senior editor here at thecoalition.com, and welcome to a brand new episode of TK Spotlight, where I bring on phenomenal individuals from throughout the gaming industry and talk a little bit about their craft and a lot of the good that they've done through all their different work and their backlog, their catalog, their portfolio, whole bunch of different stuff. And today, I got a special guest. I got Mega Ran with me to sit down and have a chat. We're going to talk about gaming. We're going to talk about music. We're going to talk about a whole bunch of stuff. But Mega Ran, welcome. Thanks for chatting it up with me. How you been?
Yo, I've been good, man. Thank you for having me, dude.
Now, this is cool because we've had a lot of mutual friends, and we finally talked face-to-face for the first time recently at a convention down here at MizuCon not too long ago. So that was pretty cool. But it's dope because we know mutual people. We've gone to like the same events, but we never crossed paths until now. So
I know.
This is a real treat. So let's start off. Let's talk a little bit about some of your early career. Okay, now you started off originally, before you really got things kicking, you started off originally as a middle school teacher at first, okay, and then you started following your passion into music. Now tell me a little bit, when was the transition, or what was it like for the transition when you finally kind of, I guess you could say, gave up your original job and then went full force with your hobby, with your passion, with what you wanted to do, which, you know, up to this point?
Well, it was 2011. I mean, I clearly remember it. It was 2011. We were just finishing up the Black Materia album and just in the process of promoting that a couple months into it. And I just got some ridiculously like cool offers to play more shows and to like interview with really cool like websites and magazines. And that's what really empowered me, kind of gave me the strength to decide to kind of take a leap and try to do this full time. And I even thought, well, you know, if it works for a month or two, as a school teacher, you get the summertime. So I was like, well, if I can just hang for the summer, then I'll go back to work in the fall, and it'll be all good. I lived my dream for a little while, and it turned out to last a lot longer than that, which
A
was
lot longer.
yeah. I mean, we're going into now 6 years of doing this, which is really awesome.
That's pretty crazy, man. So tell me a little bit about your love for gaming, because again, you talk pretty much in your music, you talk a lot about video game related stuff, or at least geek culture, nerd culture related stuff. It's an entire genre of music now that a lot of people listen to. I mean, how did that kind of, or at least, you know, get blended into your love of music, or like when did that come about, or what was it like?
Well, I feel like that all happened for me way before I knew what it was. It was just little pieces of me that were just being picked up and discovered along the way. I started making my first beats on a PlayStation game called MTV Music Generator. And so I would use this to make music on my PlayStation. So I'd make hip hop beats and then rap on them or sell them to other people and things like that, or let my friends rap on them. And I began sampling video game soundtracks. I worked at a game store, and I thought it would be cool to sample get things like Final Fantasy, Resident Evil, like really cool, lush soundtracks, and make beats out of them. And so I did that, and people liked them. And a lot of times people didn't even know they were from games. But then it hit me to say, well, what if we talked about the game on the track, you know, so that people knew it was about a game, and just built on that concept that already existed through the game, and then adding, let's say, adding a fourth act or something like that to the game, or putting yourself into the character and discussing how it'd be different. And so I did that with an album called Mega Ran, where I just took all of the Mega Man soundtrack and just had fun with it and pretended I was Mega Man and put it on the internet. And then luckily for me, a lot of people were also interested in that, you know, but it was something that I did because I really loved hip hop and video games equally.
Yeah, and from doing all that stuff, it took off from what I could tell. I mean, in my research, it ended up getting posted up on various different places, TV, magazines, you got written about you, pretty much a whole bunch of different places. But I want to ask about something you mentioned during your panel at MusiCon when I saw you. You mentioned a little bit about how there were some people that just didn't understand like what exactly you were doing as far as like the genre, talking about video games, showing your love and appreciation for gaming, you know, in your lyrics and, again, the samples that you mentioned before. Some people just didn't get it, or some people were, I guess you could say, a little bit adamant about it. Tell me a little bit about that. Like, why do you think that was the case?
Well, I definitely got some pushback. I feel like trying something new, you'll always get a little bit of resistance, you know. And me stepping into a new place and bringing something that hadn't been there before definitely led to a little bit of a I think just being unapologetically nerdy in a genre of music that is typically unapologetically tough and
Bold.
non-nerdy. And so that's really what it was. I think that honestly, what I was doing wasn't very different in concept and scope than what, say, Wu-Tang Clan were doing. You know, being very inspired by cartoons, comics, and kung fu flicks, and then putting that into their music. So, but because it was Mega Man, it was very colorful, maybe some would consider childish video games. You know, it was something that was definitely met with a little bit of skepticism. But I think it all comes down to your execution, and it not even being too cocky, but just saying that I know how to rap and I've studied, you know, hip hop culture, and I think that I'm metrically good at it. Therefore, because of that, people can overlook and kind of learn to understand some of the other things about it that weren't very understandable to begin with.
So, going off of that, or kind of like spinning off of that, was there ever a moment when you were trying to do a collaboration or try to get some sort of project done, whether it was an album, a single, anything of the sort? Did your love of gaming kind of hinder you a little bit, or it was like, was there somebody that just didn't get it and had that little bit of pushback where things just didn't work at one point?
Oh yeah, people still don't get it, and I think it's kind of the opposite. Where sometimes where I want to talk about something that's not game related, and people, because they know me and they know what my brand is, assume that I want to rap about video games all the time. You know, so there's kind of the opposite now, where people will approach me who don't rap about video games and say, "Okay, this one song on my album, I'm going to talk about Super Mario Brothers, so I need you to rap on there about Super Mario Brothers." You know, and so. It's those things where it feels like it's a bit of a stretch. It doesn't feel genuine, and it feels like they're just maybe trying to reach out for a particular audience. And nerds are very intelligent. We can spot, you know, a counterfeit or someone who's grasping for something that they don't necessarily have a love and appreciation for.
Yeah, we could see them real quick, just like
Hmm.
immediately. So that's one thing we could all say that we all kind of enjoy. But let me ask you this also, because you also talked about this during your panel when I saw you, about cussing, about, you know, language, about, you know, coming up with lyrics and stuff. And you mentioned a few times where different artists that you would work with on certain tracks, sometimes you would ask like not to cuss, or maybe you would prefer not to, and sometimes
Hmm.
they just wouldn't be able either to do that, or they just didn't want to, or they just didn't want to go
Hmm.
through the process of like trying to adapt or whatnot. Does that become difficult over time when you're doing a track? You know, as someone that isn't musically inclined like that, I just listen to the final product down the line on my iPod, so I'm very ignorant and naive to that fact. But does it make it difficult when you're trying to do things like that, or is it somewhat difficult?
Um, no, it's not difficult, but it can be though. It depends on how important it is to you, and when you have a value that's very important, then it's definitely necessary for your brand and for your conscious to keep that in mind when you're working. But you know, I don't use any profanity in my music, but you know, other people who I work with, they may. And what I might do is edit them on the other side, you know, and it's never in an ignorant way. So there are some words that I just will not allow on a record. You know, I make sure that no one's being sexist or homophobic or racist or things like that. However, you know, it may take profanity to really verbalize the issue or drive the point home for someone. And so therefore I wouldn't stifle anyone's creativity on that. But, you know, it is definitely something that I come across where I have to make those decisions. But I let people know because again, this isn't even something that I bring to the forefront that my music is clean. People just kind of notice it maybe after like the fourth or fifth song. You're like, oh wow, there's no four-letter words in this. But I never slap that on the front of it as an advertising point. It's just a part of who I am.
It was never definitely difficult then, as you make tracks and stuff, like to avoid stuff like that. Like you've never had to like put in energy to avoid like any sort of like that type of language.
No, not at all. This is something that from the beginning was in me to just not do that. So I was okay with not including stuff like that.
That's pretty cool. So let's talk a little bit about some of your collaborations. Of note, one of your big ones that is on the new album actually that you have now is with
Hmm.
Cisco. You had Cisco on one of the songs. And
Yes.
I want to know, is it sometimes a little bit different or maybe more challenging to work with someone that already has an established like reputation and stuff, or someone that's like brand new that's maybe not a lot of people know about? I mean, what are the differences there when you're coming up with a track or you're doing a collaboration with someone?
Oh, it's extremely nerve wracking to work with someone like Cisco, who's sold millions of records all around the world and been in movies and things like that. But he was extremely cool, and he was a fan first. This wasn't a person who I called up, cold called and asked to be a part of a record. This was a guy who was already a fan of what I was doing and heard the song and said, "Wow, I want to sprinkle a little something on top of it." And I was honored to do that. So working with him was a dream, where he was so easy to work with and so helpful, and just took as much time as we needed to get everything right, and then added more than even what I asked for and went above and beyond. So a person who I'm a fan of and they're a fan of me, it makes collaborating absolutely easy.
So what about on the flip side of that, working with someone that doesn't have that type of reputation, that doesn't have that pedigree, that pantheon of stuff and accomplishments? Someone that's maybe up and coming, someone that's fresh, somebody that's new. How's that experience? Is it a lot more difficult, or is it a lot more challenging? Or does it take more time to kind of really make something special to put on like an album?
It can take more time, but I think that those times that you spend working with maybe newer artists or people who are more or less enthusiastic can be great learning experiences. So it's all something that you can learn from and take and become better musicians from. So whether a person's a novice or an established veteran who sold millions of copies, the range on, especially on my new album, Extra Credit, is all over the place, because there's guys on there who haven't necessarily made beats for a long time, but just were talented, and then there's guys who've done it for a long time. So either way, I think you learn something new, especially from the youth. What I've learned is being a teacher, that's probably the best lesson I've picked up, is that you will learn from the youth and they will help you to stay young, fresh, spry, and energetic.
That's cool. So tell me, when in all the years now that you've been doing this, you said you've been doing it for about 6 years or so. When did you finally realize, or did it really hit you that what you were doing and the things you were being part of were being very, very big? Like they were reaching a whole new level you didn't think that was possible? Because again, you've appeared on WWE programming. You were there with the New Day. I remember you talked about that on your panel. You've appeared, you've done shows with a variety of other really cool people. Again, the collaborations. There's been a lot of stuff that's happened. Some of your songs have even appeared, or at least have been played alongside different specials on TV, including like ESPN and a few other shows. I mean, when did it hit that point, or when did something happen that made you go like, whoa, like this is actually getting really big, but it's really freaking cool?
Oh man, I think honestly, I feel like when I played PAX East for the first time, and it wasn't like a major main stage show. I remember it was like a side stage at the MagFest Jam Space, and again, it was like a very low key show. I walked into a room kind of unassuming, and there were it was a bunch of people in the room, I remember, and I was walking up to the stage to get ready. And I looked out and I saw a bunch of people, and I'm like, why are these people here so early? And what are they here for? And it took the stage manager to tell me, like, they're here for you, man. Like, they want to see you play.
Was it an 8 Mile moment? It was an 8 Mile moment. It's like, whoa.
Yeah, it kind of was. I was just like, oh man, I gotta go to the bathroom right now. Then, it was extremely, humbling, but it let me know, like, wow, there are a lot of people who care about what I do. And that's something that everybody wants as a musician, is for people to just listen. They just want ears. And so I was really, really humbled and blessed at that moment. And I think that's when I realized that things were kind of serious.
There you go. That's pretty cool. That must have felt surreal, because again, there's a lot of parallels that could be drawn between anybody's career and something like that. When it finally hits, it's like what you're doing is special.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's talk about the new album. Okay. Your new album out right now. Okay, it came out earlier in September. It's Extra Credit. There now, I've listened to it. Okay, you sent me an early copy of the album, and I've had some time, while I'm working and stuff, even in the midst of a hurricane, because I had to deal with Hurricane Irma down here or whatnot. Oh. So a couple cool songs on there. Some of my favorites are Eyes on Your Own Paper, The Defenders, Pursuing Hearts, Airplane Mode, Form School of Feng Shui. Some of those are at least some of my favorites on there. Now, I want to know, does some of those songs, you know, the lyrics and the stuff that you're talking about, is a lot of that based on personal experience? Was there a lot of drawing inspiration from things that have happened to you in the past?
Oh, definitely. I feel like those make the best songs, and that's when I think I learned that maybe a few years into the songwriting process is that when it's real, it's the best, you know. And I'm sure comic book writers and I'm sure, you know, singer-songwriters probably feel the same way that the songs that they write that are based in reality to their own life, there's more passion connected to them and they're probably better executed than anything else. So I always feel like those are the absolute best songs. So I try to incorporate a little bit of my own life into it. You know, Feng Shui was one where I took some real life situations where there were friends and even uh, just my love for music being kind of questioned even within my own self, and I just kind of just turned those real life conversations and real life feelings into a fictional story kind of about domestic disputes and just learned into a way to just draw parallels and just draw an extended metaphor out and to have fun with it, even with a situation that might not have been fun when I was going through it, you know?
I see. So tell me, what about this album about Extra Credit is different or is like much better than some of your previous work? Like, what is it that, you know, Mega Ran fans out there that have probably followed the majority, if not all of your work, what is it about this album that's special that you think they're going to like?
Oh man, I think they're gonna really enjoy the beats, the rhymes. I think that everything is at another level. The sound quality of the mixing and mastering, um, and I just think it explores deeper parts of me and deeper corners of me that I had never really exposed before. And I feel like the last two albums, I'm learning a little bit more about myself, even as a person, a songwriter, where I get to delve a little deeper each time. You know, so I go into some thoughts about faith. I go into some things about, my life and just as a kid who always feels isolated and alone and, through music and what music has done for me and all the travels that it's allowed me to have and the ups and downs of that. And so I think that it's opening another window to my soul. I feel like I've opened quite a few over the years, but this is like the big, what are those big windows that are fully like the fully room sized
Oh, I know
window
exactly what you're talking about. And I can't
that you
think of
kind
the
of,
name.
yeah, that you kind of open up like that. That's where I feel like I am now, where I'm just like fully exposed and it's scary, but I think at the same time it's very therapeutic. And I definitely feel like people are going to see that and hear that on the album.
Sounds interesting. Yeah, I think again, sounds like there's a lot of passion, a lot of thought going into some of these songs. Like, again, some of my favorites in there, "Pursuing Hearts." I love the beat. I love the music. There's just some
Thank
of
you.
those songs that just click right there. I wish it was longer. I'm not gonna lie. If I'm gonna be like a critic of myself, it's like a 2.5 minute song, and it sounds good. It's great. I just wish it was like a 4 minute song. But that's just
I
me.
agree.
That's
I agree.
nitpicky.
It's part of making songs and things like that is knowing when to give them more and when to keep them wanting more.
Yeah, definitely. So let's talk a little bit about gaming, as a good way to kind of cap off most of this entire discussion. Tell me what exactly or how you're feeling about gaming right now, because you talk a lot about retro games and most of your work, again, Mega Man, Final Fantasy. You talked about, I believe, you mentioned Resident Evil earlier, like different stuff like that. But is there any like new games or new things that have kind of like, given you some inspiration or had a calling to you?
Yeah, I mean, I was a huge fan of the BioShock series. Still am. Also, the new Destiny, I really enjoy.
Nice.
The Witcher 3, I love a lot. I think that there are some really, really super creative games out now, and games that go into a new place. Like it seems like every couple months, and it's really exciting. I'm excited to see the increased diversity in games and game characters and game plots and things like that. So it's a good time for current games. I mean, I was kind of stuck in retro with retro colored glasses for most of my life. Where I'm like, no, man, 8-bit forever. But I can definitely feel that now. We're at a really important and awesome time in gaming where people are bringing it, man. These games are top notch. So there are quite a few that I really do enjoy.
Yeah, there's a lot of good that's happening now, especially in 2017. I mean, 20 to me personally thus far, 2017 has been one of the best years in gaming that we've had thus far. There's so many big
Yeah.
releases and stuff. But since there's so much good that's out there now, I mean, in your opinion, because I've asked this to every guest I've had on the series, on the show, on the series, like, what is it that needs to be improved in gaming right now? What's the worst aspect about gaming, in your opinion, right now, whether it's the industry or anything else?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of toxicity in the industry itself. We've had a lot of things go down from, fallout continues from things like Gamergate. You got all types of just weird stuff happening
Very weird.
within the gaming culture. I feel like sexism is still a huge thing, and so we gotta get out of that. But I mean, I think that's just maybe the world in general. But when it comes to actual gaming and game content, I feel like we've forgotten about the single player, and there are some people who don't want to go online because of the toxic nature of online gaming, which gets exposed when things like PewDiePie's incident comes out.
Oh, yeah.
So there's a lot of things that people like myself don't go online for because they don't want to be berated, constantly or hear all types of negative words. So I think that we got to make the single player campaigns more fulfilling, more fun, instead of just being the appetizer to a game. I think that we got to get back to single player games being, or single player modes, at least campaign modes, becoming the meat of a game. I love Destiny 2, but I think I read a quote from the developers saying, "Oh, the campaign is just the tip of the iceberg. Like, once you do that, you do your 6 hours on that, then you're going to do 25 hours on the rest of it." And it's like, well, that's cool and all, but why not make an interesting enough campaign mode that a person who is a single player, who may not have a bunch of friends or even like playing online, can still enjoy?
I agree. I mean, don't get me wrong. 2017 has had games that are like that. I mean, we've had like Persona 5, we've had Horizon Zero Dawn, Neo, Nier Automata. Those just plenty of games that
Zelda, yeah.
Zelda's another one. Like, there's been plenty like that, but I could totally understand that, especially in this day and age where going online or being connected to the internet, it's such a big part of the experience, whether it's connecting to other players or getting extra content, that that whole idea or that philosophy about making a game complete by day one, or at least, as a complete package by day one when it releases, is long since gone. Because again, we have the internet and such.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about this. Okay, what you've had some songs, or at least you've done some work for some games. You've had some music on there. One of which I didn't know was Marvel 2. You had a remix on one of the tracks over there, which I thought was pretty cool. So is there any like particular game or series that you want to work with, or anything that you could probably just think of off the top of your head, cold? Any
A
series
series that I would want to work with,
that you want to track on, or you would want to actually contribute some sort of music to?
man. I mean, Final Fantasy would be great. I really enjoy Final Fantasy 15. I would love to work on something for that. If they do another BioShock, I would love to be a part of that. Man, there's so many though, but I feel like maybe a Grand Theft Auto, or if they do a new Mega Man at some point, I'd definitely love to get a phone call about that. But yeah, I feel like my favorites as far as series go are probably Halo, BioShock, maybe Metal Gear, things like that. That I think that I could do something that would be different, stepping outside of my comfort zone and creating something different that would fit into that world.
I think that'd be cool. That'd be interesting. We gotta get Square on the phone and be like, hey, listen, you got the City of Final Fantasy coming out. Let's go. But
exactly.
So here's a good way to wrap up this discussion. Like I ask every guest that comes onto the show, what is one piece of advice, one thought, one big thing that you could tell the audience, the people listening to this, no matter what facet of the industry or life that they come from? What is one piece of advice or thing that you could tell them, that you could give to them right now, that you feel like they should know, that they should hold on to?
Well, I think it's the thing that was given to me. Two things. And it's going to sound like super cliche, but it's super true, is I believe that it was a Maya Angelou quote, which talks about how people will only remember how you made them feel at the end of the day. They won't remember all the awesome things you did. They'll just remember, were you a nice person? So the most important advice I can give is be a good person to be around. and that alone will put you in so many different rooms, so many different situations. If you're a person that people want to see and people want to talk to, people want to laugh with, people want to learn from. So the short version of that is just be nice. But I think that it's so much easier said than done. I know so many jerks in the music and gaming industry who are just not fun people to be around. So I think that it's important to be a person that people want in the room. And that can sometimes like precede and supersede talent level. It's just being an awesome person to be around. And the other thing is don't give up, especially when you're trying something new. It's different and walking a path that hasn't been walked. I mean, I'm living proof that it is a possibility that you can do something that's different from the norm and still make it work out.
I think that's very simple, but very solid advice and food for thought for everybody. Just be nice. Just be a cool person. Don't be a dick.
Yeah.
That's the biggest piece of advice that anybody could really give to anybody. But Mega Ran, thank you. This has been awesome. I appreciate it. This is very, very cool. Your new album, Extra Credit, is out now. People can get it on iTunes. They could download it also in other other sound MP3 music places, correct? Besides iTunes.
Absolutely. Everywhere you get music, you can get it. MP3 music places. Places. That's a new place.
But yeah, definitely everybody. Where can they find you right now besides Twitter? You're on Twitter now. It's at Megaran. Am I correct?
Yes, I spend most of my time at Twitter, but I'm on Instagram at Random Beats, and I'm on Snapchat at random.megaran, and but my main hub is megaran.com.
Nice. There are going to be links in the description box below for you guys to go directly and check out all his stuff, check out all his music. Definitely check out his entire discography that's out there. But again, Mega Ran, this has been an awesome chat. Hopefully, I get to see you again real soon. Are you going to PSX? Because I know PSX is in December.
Oh, wow. I don't know. I don't have anything else to do in December, so I may need to look into that.
We got to get you to PSX. We got to go hang out.
I've never been, so let's
you're in for a treat. You're in for a treat.
Yeah,
it's really cool.
I might need to be there.
But thank you again. Guys, let me know in the comment section below if you guys enjoyed this episode of TK Spotlight. Tell me what's up. Send me suggestions for different guests to bring onto the show or any other suggestions to make the show better. Don't forget to leave a like on this video. Subscribe to the Koalition's YouTube channel for all our videos related to gaming and other cool stuff like this. I will talk to you guys again very soon. Peace out. And stay epic, everybody. What's the name? Like he forgot when he been to the spot like lots of times. I know you getting old, but you ain't lost your mind. She wanna leave me behind. We had a 1 in a million love.